Stem and leaf plots are used to organize data to help students see where the data is centering. Stem and leaf plots are different from other graphs that students have seen in elementary school because they are only used to show numerical data. Numerical data is described as values or observations that can be measured, which means that fractional and decimal values can be part of the data set. Let's look at an example. In this situation, Mrs. Schwab has asked her students to measure the length of their feet and record the measurement. So right here, we have a list of the measurements, and then we're going to create a stem and leaf plot of this data. So you can see that we've filled in the data. What we did is we took each of these data points and broke it down into the whole number and the fraction. So this 8 1/4 was our smallest value. You see that right here, 8 1/4. We put the 8 in the stem for the whole number and the 1/4 in the leaf. Then we had a lot of values for 9, but we had a couple of values where 9 was just all by itself, so that we just put a 0 in that place just to say that that had no fraction added to it. 10 didn't have any values, but we need to keep our stems in order over here, so we see that there are no values that had a 10 as a stem, and 11 had 2 values. Over here in our key, this is really important that we show our keys so that someone who didn't know where the data came from would be able to read our graph, showing that 8 in the stem and 1/4 in the leaf is equal to 8 1/4. So we see that the data is centering around the stem of 9. A conclusion we could make from this data is that a typical foot length for Mrs. Schwab's class is about 9 inches. We could also find the difference between the highest value and the lowest value to see how spread apart the data is. So our smallest value is 8 1/4, and our largest value is 11 1/4. So the data has a very small range or spread. The concepts of center and spread of the data will be further developed in middle school. So to summarize, stem and leaf plots are used to organize numerical data and see where the data is centering and how far apart the data is spread.